Yeah, it's Sukkot's time to finish the Torah.
Good opportunity to talk about the one Parsha that doesn't have a Shabbos.
And yes, like you said, one Parsha doesn't get a Shabbos, Parashat Vezot Haberacha, that we will be laning on Simchas Torah, a Parsha that we actually lane again and again. Doesn't have its own Shabbos, would we repeat it again and again to make sure everybody gets an Aliyah? And what I want to discuss this week in that Parasha is the actual name and what happens in the Parasha, the Brachot that Am Yisrael gets. Because on the one hand, when you start reading the Parasha, you see how Moshe Rabbeinu calls every tribe, every shevet for itself and gives a bracha to each shevet and shevet, making sure that each shevet individually gets its own bracha. However, in the beginning of the Parsha it says, and the Parsha itself is called Vezot Haberacha. This is the bracha that Moshe blessed Am Yisrael. Bracha in singular form, yet he gives many brachos. So it should be, these are the brachos. Elu habrachot that Moshe blessed Am Yisrael. These are the brachas that Moshe will give Am Yisrael or gave Am Yisrael. So what is exactly this bracha that Moshe is giving? Is he giving one bracha to everyone? Is he giving each shevet individually a bracha? What is going on over here? What are these brachas about? What is Parashat Vezot Haberacha about? What is Moshe doing in his last final words to Am Yisrael just before he dies and just before the Torah ends?
It's a very interesting point. And actually, when the bracha starts, it does start as a bracha to all of Am Yisrael together. And without stopping, it sort of just flows into Yechi Reuven, meaning it suddenly starts to speak to Reuven and then to the other Shvatim. And then at the end, it also sort of comes back. And you can barely notice that you need Rashi to point out, hey, from here, it's already not about Asher, it's about everyone else. But maybe your question is exactly the answer, because you asked, if there's so many separate brachot, why does it start with saying, and this is the bracha, as a singular thing, just this is the bracha that is given to Am Yisrael? And maybe the reason is because there is only one bracha. Wait a minute, we see many different brachot, but maybe these aren't different brachot. Maybe there is only one bracha, but this one bracha includes reference to every single one of the shvatim. What I mean by that is that it's not that Moshe Rabbeinu went to every single tribe and gave them their bracha. The opposite. Moshe intentionally wanted Reuven to see Yehuda's bracha and Yehuda to see Reuven's bracha and Asher to see Gad, and every single one to not only receive their own bracha, but to also stand there and listen to the bracha given to someone else. Not only because it's important for them to see the bracha someone else got, more than that, because it is their bracha, as Moshe says. There's only one bracha here. The bracha to you is only when every single one gets their own place and gets their own bracha. If you think that you can have bracha separate from what's going on to everyone else, then you're missing the point. And Moshe actually, just before he goes on to Reuven, he starts with two important sentences, one which we say from childhood, from the youngest age when we just learned to speak, it Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha kihilat Yaakov. Just before I break off and speak about one of you, I want you to recognize, when I gave you Torah, I gave it to all of you as a kehilah. We spoke about just lately about hakel, about the concept of coming together. Accepting the Torah comes together with coming together as a community, as kehilot Yaakov. And then the next pasuk is Vayihi b'Yishurun melech v'hitasef rashei am. When we come together, yachad shivtei Yisrael, all together, but not all together as one, all together as shivtei Yisrael, as plural, as separate tribes. We're together, but we're together by each being our own tribe, by each being with our own uniqueness. And from there he goes on. And when you recognize that, then for you, Reuven's bracha or Yehuda's bracha or Binyamin's bracha, regardless of what tribe you're from, is your bracha. Not because it's directly relevant to you, but their bracha is directly relevant to you. Because only as a group, only as a cloud do we grow as Am Yisrael. And I think this is such an important message. Many times as parents, and I think in general in the world, people talk a lot about equality. And as parents, we always want to make sure no one feels jealous. One of the kids doesn't see that we're giving to one of the other kids, but sometimes I say, wait a minute, they should see that sometimes one child gets one thing and the other child doesn't. The world isn't necessarily about being equal, being fair. It's not about fair. Fair is a childish thing that little children think that everything has to be the same. When you grow up, you recognize that there are differences. There are people that do one thing, there are people that do other. There are people who are talented in one thing and people that are talented in another. The things aren't supposed to be the same. We're not all supposed to be doing the same thing. But more than that, why am I not jealous by you? Because I need you to be doing your thing. My blessing is when you do your thing. That's the only way that I get my bracha, is by seeing you, by being happy, seeing someone else get something else. You know, it's fine. It's good for children at a young age already to recognize that, okay, they got something, and sometimes you get something, and sometimes someone else gets something. And that's what happens here. There's one bracha, and in that one bracha, they all sit and listen to the bracha being given to each individual. That's what makes this bracha so unique. And maybe because of that and the power of that, that's how Moshe can end off with again speaking about Am Yisrael, but this time not talking about Shivtei Yisrael, not talking about the tribes of Am Yisrael, not even talking about Bnei Yisrael, talking about Israel as an individual. Vayishkon Yisrael betach badad, Ashrecha Yisrael, talking to Am Yisrael as an individual, as if it's one person. Just a minute ago, we said that you were Shivtei Yisrael. No, dafka, when you're able to recognize each shevet and you're able to sit and hear the bracha for the other shevet and not be jealous, recognize that their bracha is your bracha, there is only one bracha, that's what can bring you about to truly being together, to truly being united and seen as one, as Yisrael, as this new sort of entity, being this new sort of entity which brings everyone together as one.
Exactly. Beautiful what you're saying. This is what this bracha, the singular bracha, is about. Understanding that when one shevet gets a bracha, it's also a blessing for all the other shvatim. When one shevet does what they're supposed to do and is successful in what they're doing, then it's a blessing for everybody else. That's the main message Moshe Rabbeinu is trying to give over here. Like you were saying so nicely about a family and kids, many times kids are jealous of each other. One gets one thing, the other gets the other. But the real message is understanding that each individual, each shevet have their practices, have their job, have their missions in this world to accomplish, and therefore they have their blessings too, and their blessings are not the blessings that the other shvatim get, and each shevet should be happy that each other shevet is successful in what they're doing and is receiving their blessing. This is the real unity. This is the true unity that is needed in Am Yisrael to bring us to Ishkon Yisrael betach badad, by themselves in this area in the world where we are really by ourselves surrounded by enemies. And this is what will help us stick together, help us stay strong when we understand that each shevet has its own uniqueness. And this is why the Parsha begins with Vezot Haberacha. This is the blessing in singular. And also really interesting that the word Vezot, emphasizing that it's a singular bracha, is used by the Midrash to connect us to the other time Am Yisrael got brachot by Yaakov Avinu at the end of Sefer Bereshit, where Yaakov goes and blesses all the tribes over there, all his sons over there. The Midrash connects the two blessings, saying that Yaakov told his sons, wait, in the future there will be someone else that will come and continue by blessing, and that is Moshe that starts the blessings over here in Vezot Haberacha. And interestingly also over there, it seems in the pasuk that Yaakov is actually blessing each shevet, each son individually to themselves, but then Rashi points out exactly that each blessing for each individual is a blessing for all the other. Each blessing for each one is a blessing for everyone. That's what Yaakov was teaching them over there. This is what Moshe is teaching us over here. And very interestingly, that understanding that when your friend gets something and you are happy for them, this is called having an ayin tova. As we know in the Mishnah and Avos, one of the great things, one of the great characteristics a person can have is having ayin tova, is having a good eye on your friend, is looking upon your friends and looking upon the good things that your friends have in a good way, and not the opposite, not being jealous like we mentioned. And you know, there's an interesting pasuk that says tov ayin hu yevorach, that the person who has a good eye, he will be the one who is blessed. And the halacha learns from it that from here we learn that the person who has a good eye should be the one blessing in Birkat Hamazon. He should be the one doing the zimun and benching. And the Maharal has a very interesting piece on this, saying that this is exactly the point, that when you are tov ayin, when you have the ability to see the good that your friends have, to see the good that other people around you have, and you are happy for them, you are happy with that good, you are happy for them being successful, then you yourself open up the opportunity to be blessed, to get the blessing. That's why tov ayin, the person who has a good eye, hu yevorach, he will be blessed, and therefore he is the one also that could bless the others, they could bring the blessings to others. And this is again what we are seeing over here in Vezot Haberacha, Moshe Rabbeinu telling Am Yisrael, the blessings are for you, but not only for each one individually, the blessing that you get, but you have a responsibility also for the others around you, and the others around you will also be affected by that blessing and will also get good out of that blessing. This is what these brachas are about. It's one big bracha for everyone. Understanding it, that is the bracha for Am Yisrael, understanding the responsibility we have for each other. And it's also not only inside Am Yisrael, as we are in Chag Sukkot, Sukkot, one of the biggest features in Chag Sukkot, one of the biggest things about Chag Sukkot is that we have korbanos each day for Umot HaOlam, for the nations around us, as we are also caring for the world around us. We're caring for the people around us. It's not only about us in our small society, in our small city, in our small town. It's not only about Am Yisrael in our own nation, but it's also about the world we live in. Our responsibility that we have towards the world that we live in, like we posted this week on our Twitter account, the beautiful clip from Jordan Peterson from last week in Yerushalayim, saying that the story that we tell as a nation here in Eretz Yisrael is the story the world needs to hear, is the story that the world, for good and for bad, is looking at and for some reason are super interested in. So we have to make sure we tell the good story. We have to understand the responsibility we have toward the world around us, towards everything around us, and live up to that responsibility, understanding that a blessing to us is a blessing to the world, understanding that a blessing to each and each tribe is a blessing for the other tribes around them, understanding that all this together is Vezot Haberacha. These are Moshe Rabbeinu's last final words. This is the message Moshe Rabbeinu chooses to end the Torah with, understanding that this is how we as a nation have to continue on together in order to tell that great story that we have to tell to the world around us.
It's interesting you're pointing out about Ayin Tovah and Bracha going together, because we see throughout, all of Torah, this sort of battle always around Bracha and tension and jealousy, right? Going back to Yaakov and Esav. And then we see the opposite, where Yaakov intentionally gives Ephraim and Menashe and sort of deals with this jealousy or not jealousy, or the fact that they're not jealous of each other, as key to giving the Bracha. And again, when Yaakov gives the Bracha, he kavtzu, let's bring you together, and then I give you a Bracha. It seems that really the key to being able to accept Bracha is having that Ayin Tovah. And when you're able to have that, then you're able to really grow, as we said. And I think this answers an interesting question I had about, there's a famous saying, and we've quoted in the past by the Rebbe Mikotz, about if I am I because you are you, and you are you because I am I, then I'm not I and you're not you, right? If I'm just being myself because I'm looking at what you are and that's how I'm defining myself, then I'm not I and you're not you. But it's interesting, when the sentence goes on, it says, but if I am I because I am I, and you are you because you are you, then I am I and you are you. Wait a minute, if this sentence is about me just being myself and not looking at someone else, why do I continue the sentence and say, if I am I because I am I, and you are you because you are you? Again, I'm talking about you. Can I just go on and stop talking about other people and focus on myself? Why am I talking about you are being you? It has nothing to do with the sentence. The whole sentence is about stop focusing about the you, just focus about the I. But I think this is exactly what we're saying. It's not only about me being me, I because I am I, and not looking at you. It's also me being able to look at you and be happy that you are you, and know that that's good. That's good for me that you are you and that I am I, and each of us have that role. That's the only way to really find my own self. It's not only to not copy you, not imitate you, or not do the opposite of you, not define myself based on you. It's me being able to be myself and be totally fine to see you being something else and enjoy that and be happy for you and you be happy for me. And together we can really bring a blessing into this world.
Amen. Beautiful. We're out of time, so we'll end here. I'll just remind our viewers that last year we also discussed Vezot Haberachah. We discussed the actual last Psukim of the Torah. Why does the Torah end the way it ends, with glorifying Moshe Rabbeinu? Why is that so important? And specifically, the last Rashi on the Torah reminds us that Moshe broke the Luchot. Why was it so important for Rashi to remind us that Moshe broke the Luchot? That's the great thing. Yeshar kochacha sheshibata. That's the great thing Moshe Rabbeinu did in his life. There's an incredible lesson to be learned over there. We'll link that video. We'll also link, one year we discussed Shabbos Chol HaMoed. We read Kohelet, the Megillah of Kohelet, which when you read it is a very depressing Megillah. However, Chag Sukkot is called Chag Simcha. V'samachta b'chagecha. There's extra special happiness happening on Sukkot. How do these two go together? Why are we reading the Megillah, the book of depression, on Sukkot, which is supposed to be the holiday of happiness? How does that work together? We'll link that video. And as usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to share it around. Like the video on YouTube, of course, in order to help the algorithm spread it. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and hit that notification button so you don't miss any video that comes out. And Shkoyach Yitzi.
Shkoyach Tuvia, Moadim L'Simcha, Shabbat Shalom.
Moadim L'Simcha, Shabbat Shalom, and Chag Sameach, and Mitzvah Hashem next week, starting the Torah all over again.